Good evening. On the night of the Critics' Choice Award, just got finished watching the big joke of the night, the epic marathon chug fest that I'm paying for is the Louis Trace, Louis 13th Genius Award, which went to Richard Linklater's trilogy, which happens to be the least earning trilogy of all time, Ethan Hawke and Julie Delpy, Before Midnight, After Midnight, Before Midnight, Before Sunrise, whatever. I always have a problem remembering exactly. They're great films, but the concept is they're basically talk fists. And I honestly think, well, it's the extreme kidnapper desperate addiction to the hostage guilt. The addiction is like, if this guy gets away, we might actually have to give him back his stolen wallet. That's addiction. The desperate, reliant addiction to kidnapping. That's what it is. So that's one of the motives, and it's always desecrate the intent. Anything. It's like they're trying. I know what they're trying to do. They're trying to turn. It's like if you steal a bunch of cars, or you rob a bank, and the alarm goes off. They're trying to shut up the alarms. I happen to be the bank. I may either make keys to the bank vault or I make keys to the cars, the exotics, the Ferraris or the Lamborghinis, while I get a secondhand bike, if I'm lucky. Then so I make these keys in order, but they've got to shut off the alarm. I honestly think that's the motive. That's why they hold me as a hostage. They hold me as a Blue Cross Blue Shield is to protect guilt, really, these days. It's gotten so bad because it's gotten so far out of hand, theoretically. So, tonight, yeah, it was funny to watch. And they are great films. Talk Fest. And the funny part is, it's been so long since I've had a friend that actually, well, I can't even remember. I didn't have one in Aspen. I didn't have one the 2 years I was in Savannah. I didn't have one in Jackson, Wyoming. I had the one girl I used to go hang out with a little bit, but we ended up, it didn't last long. But when I finally started developing a personality that was appealing, I haven't had a friend / any sort of relationship with girls or guys, really. But at work, that's why the most time I spent was probably with all those teenage kids from at Ben and Jerry's or the ISIS Sun. And we used to talk a good bit, but they were, they didn't understand what I was saying 99% of the time, and, they couldn't comprehend. I'm sure once they reflected upon it, it made a little bit more sense. I was far advanced trying to give them some insight into certain. I was dealing with philosophy a lot of times, sociological culture, and things like that. But so yeah, the funny part is I can't even have I don't. It's almost impossible for me to have friends. These are some psychotic, sadistic, just crazy. They're really like psychotic drug addicts, is the way I see it. And the only reason it's become so desperate is because they just can't quit. I mean, it's just. We're not talking. We're talking about. And if you look at the global economy, that's where the cost is. And what they were doing. That's why everybody's getting nervous over here because it's at 75% tax rate in France, which is a siren in my estimation. It's because my aunts and my grandmother and grandfather gave a lot more than 75%. They gave the Prince 1999 99.99999%, and they want more. They want more and more. That's why it's 12 Years a Slave won Best Picture. And the Dallas Buyers Club goes back to my time at Cafe Brazil. Interesting time there. So let's see. I got lots of notes. Worshipping the political machines. And we'll see they really are. The political, they have these political deities that are their gods because they bury the bodies. And you've got a bunch of these shadow organizations. The media, well, see, what happened when I went to the years I spent trying to escape in Aspen and Savannah, the media is now guilty. So they are on the side, they're domesticated hot dogs. So the media are domesticated hot dogs that are going to keep desperate to bury my body because they're going to look real bad if I escape. So the political, it goes back to Presbyterian, I honestly think, which happened. There's a lot of credibility to this brainwashing of my body. They stole what my body was replaced. This is what you see and what I mean, it's like I should be living in a Trump Palace penthouse or in an estate or in the French Quarter or on St. Charles Avenue. Instead, I'm in a place in Tybee Island. And it's, you know, so what they've done is they sell my body for shares. And then I am not allowed to use it. And they have, you know, that's what the fight is over, to keep me using my body. So now, when I get around an area, the factions in that area that are in control or deviant find out. And since I'm so vulnerable and I am who really, really screwed up were I guess you would say that I just didn't get the support. And Baton Rouge really knew what they were doing. When they made me poor for so many years and they started alienating me from all my friends because I couldn't afford friends. And I was so poor for so long, just barely alive, it alienated me. So I didn't keep in touch with all my friends. I lost contact with, or ended up, I slept on so many couches, so many times, and nobody really, it was a bad situation, and that carried over. And they knew it was infectious disease. They knew what they were doing. They were specific. Baton Rouge sold their soul, and that's why Baton Rouge is being threatened with being divided into St. George and the Baton Rouge. St. George is the dragon. Baton Rouge is playing this Dungeons and Dragons game to the death. Little Wars. There's a place which is an H.G. Wells story or game. And yeah, they really are. They're playing it to the. They have ruined my life to play this stupid game. Honestly. And I can't escape because they've hacked me so bad. And Baton Rouge is playing the side of the political machine and the SEC. LSU sold their soul to Baton Rouge. See, the state of Louisiana lost control. It was torn between Baton Rouge. What really happened was the aristocracy, because we never developed. My family never got to. My aunt stayed in public service basically their entire life, which was they got addicted to the state, got addicted to our service because we were donating our body or the blood or whatever. And so we never got to grow up or never got to grow up, which is probably was planned, in my estimation. I didn't, until when I started figuring all this out, I never had any sort of reason. And once I finally got all the evidence, I presented it to everyone. So I seem to be, it's always hiding under stuff. There's always angles. On one side, you've got universities, which are more technical schools. They're not traditional universities. They're technical schools. Technical assembly lines for mechanized clones that are like bionic parts. There's different ranks and levels of these clones, but I provide a lot of parts and energy to them. And then you've got the Jesus freaks on one side who did nothing. They decided to use the ascension and bypass me being the St. Louis eldest heir, which they're using as a Jesus loophole technicality. So the ascension is being bypassed based upon Ascension Healthcare in St. Louis, which has connections to St. Vincent, which it's this stupidity, insanity, pyramid scheme, forgery. It's like a house of cards that is this deviation. It would be like putting a bank owner. It would lock the bank owner out of the bank, but let anybody else in and have free money. That's basically, so they've locked me out of my St. Louis bank, but they'll give it to anybody else who pass certain criteria. We can get this charge, they can pass certain, there are all sorts of ways, and a lot of different ways have been found. But that seems to be one of the big bypass dissension based upon St. John the Baptist, my sister's marriage here, and the Episcopal St. John. So St. John the Baptist Cathedral, which is affiliated with St. Vincent's, which has a V in it, it's loopy insanity. That's why they are desperate to bury so bad, because it really is crazy insanity. I mean, it makes no logical sense at all when you look at all this information. So, I've got it, and so the dissension bypass, and there's even Jesus in Limbo from Hieronymus Bosch at the Indianapolis Museum of Art, which is what they've done, but they've got to keep me so low. It's like they genetic modified me. They used me. They threw me into a big mix, and it's like I offer this big, huge chunk of genes and splicing organs that they splice into creatures, which is vivisection, as it's called, like Island of Dr. Moreau. And so they're doing that using my body. That's what my body is. Some people get, there's a lot of people with the Mercedes, or some people with the private jets, and then there's some people with the VWs. And I get nothing because they want me to. I'm also the beauty shop, and it's like, it's when the trading places is going on, they have to bury me so low. They're trying to call me something, calling me this certain type of creature. But if I was on the level of they have to bury me so low that I'm actually on the level of like a maggot or something like that. Because there's so much evidence that they have to bury me so low that I can't actually even be in the middle. I have to be really, really low. Even though they hide me, it's like I was in Aspen, but I was probably one of the poorest people in Aspen for a lot of years. I always have to be living. I'm always fed. They have to feed me because I can't have my own money, because I might figure a way. Friends cost money. Girls cost money. I mean, you have to have money to have a social life. And social life, they want to try to die. They don't want socializing is how I was escape. I was shy most of my life, and then they made me shy because they didn't want, they had to respect those that I passed over because I was shy when I was young. Because I never had friends that were girls, really. I was never comfortable. And I had ADHD real bad. So they had to keep me shy by being really, really poor. Because I've become more outgoing now, but I can't afford to do anything. But if I could go places and meet people, or if I had friends, where if you have friends, you have to say, call them up and say, hey, let's go have a beer, go out on Friday night, and meet people. I can't afford to even go out I can't afford to do anything, literally. I've got like $200 to my name, totally, and I try to save as much as I can. And so yeah, we're talking, and I'm not even allowed a job. Really, it's this crazy notoriety that anything that I ever did, it was never wrong. The lessons that I learned in life have to matter, or some BS like that, which I just don't agree with. Rather than let me utilize optimize my talents, it's just horrific mismanagement. So what should be happening? I should have an art development team, as you would. I've got so much material or if you can know where to look, you can find it, because I have to put it online. I have to spill my guts, basically, because my computer could collapse. It's collapsed before. I've got a couple of I've got a couple of disks. For the most part, I save my information online. I've got it on my either email or Facebook or something like that. And it is bridged to where it's condensed. I can expand it. There's a lot of material I can expand. and I got novels and things like that. But my ADHD has gotten even worse when I get overwhelmed with material, and so I am unable. And now especially, I started writing a book on Twitter, and I started writing books online. So I end up spending too much time doing that because I'm very, very frustrated. I really need. I watch these films I always studied like these different generations of artists, like Hemingway, The Lost Generation in Paris, where he had friends, or contemporaries or peers, or the Beat generation. They had friends. I haven't had art contemporaries in so long. I try to meet them. They. I was held as a hostage because of the body snatchers. They chose to use me as a hostage rather than help me elevate. Even when I was living up 2 blocks away from SCAD, which should have been I didn't have any money though, so I couldn't go out or do anything. And I did a lot of research, but I interviewed 75 people. There's on my Craigslist account, there are like 10 ads. I probably interviewed more than 75 people, and you think I would have met some people that just wanted to hang out, go walk their dog, or walk around the park, or go for walks, or talk, converse like this um, before midnight, sort of these conversations. But instead, it's this isolation alienation, which is mind-numbing. It's bad for me. But obviously, there are factions at work and at play. So, the best case scenario would be to me to have a team, a staff, let's say an assistant and some researchers and some editors, so we could take all my information. Because I even asked if I could get a copy of the novel I had written. I was told no. I mean, that's how crazy this has gotten. I mean, this has gotten so crazy you can't even imagine. It goes downhill real fast because it's like they're vicious predators I'm surrounded with, and I'm like a baby. I really can't move a muscle. I can't leave. I just have to sit here and take it. I'm like I'm like that Marvin Nash and Reservoir Dogs, and I'm getting danced around. They just keep beating me to death. Well, they beat me into a coma. I'm beat into a life support coma, and I can't. I'm kept on life support. The life debt is. I'm not allowed. I'm not dead. I'm not thrown off the grid and homeless, but I'm dead on life support, which is insanely stupid. But I could easily make at least $500,000 with the right staff. Probably several million. Probably 10 to 20 million. Really, I know art business and how it works. I know the deals. I know what information I have. I know my talent. I know what sells. I have a really good ear. I could go and I could produce. I eventually would like a production company of music, film, art. I try to create a consultant. I'm good at that sort of thing, but I'm not allowed to do it because I'm alone. It's like I have to sit here and it's bizarre. It makes sense. It really is. It's just about the blood doping. That's all it is. They drain my blood and they sell it for drugs. That's all it is. And so it's this. And so rather than me be able to use my talents, then I am then forced into these just situations where my only option, basically, my life has been trying to escape. For years and years, if I'm lucky enough to have a below poverty job or an entry level job, I've spent all my time trying to escape. And for the most part, I'm stuck in areas of containment. Like Tybee Island, there's no way I'm going to get anything done here, probably. I'd be surprised. Obviously, they're in cahoots with the Savannah crowd who has sold their soul to my sister's side of the family. They're going to play that card to death. They're going to, the only way that card flies is me as I can't rise because, they have to sell me into slavery. Because I mean, my story is very credible, and if I develop into this tangible credit, they not to mention they do not want me to leave the country because I would be huge overseas. They're selling a specific type of agenda. They hate competition. They're totalitarian party machine monsters. They worship these machines, and they have these political figureheads that have now started playing the role. Um, but they've done it really bad. They got to realize the system is really in a lot of problems. But it's gonna. The only option is produce more. It's just it's a land grab. It's like the Sooners before. It's like they realize it's like well, it's this empire they're trying to chop up because Louisiana never developed any sort of muscle. Louisiana's being anesthetized with the film industry that they're having their foot chopped off, and the anesthesia is the movies that are being filmed there, and all this they seemingly was developed, but they don't even realize that they've lost their foot, and they're burning the bridges to Europe, and they're burning the bridges to Latin America, which are going to be usurped by Hollywood and by New York, and Georgia's trying to play a third card, but they just will not let me develop Louisiana at all. Louisiana's not smart enough to develop itself. They're happy playing the crawdad solidarity. They the aristocracy is worthless. They're cats. They don't give a fuck about anything. They're worthless fucking cats. So they'll jump ship. They'll play the Texas card, or they'll play the Georgia card, or they'll play the New York card, or they'll play the Colorado card. But they don't really care. Louisiana is just going to be nothing but a refinery, basically, like it really is. It didn't develop at all, like I was trying to. They're throwing away trillions of dollars. It looks like and it really looks like, but they're throwing away big opportunities. And eventually, their promises are the mob is promising them if they kill me and keep me buried, that they might come in and replant or something like that. But they have to eat somebody. Somebody's going to have to take the blame for this. Somebody's got to pay for the party. I have a feeling Louisiana is for sure going to pay, no doubt about it. I mean, they made too many bad judgments. They didn't. What they needed to do was try to make amends, but they got scared. They keep refusing to make any sort of amends in growing up. So they keep playing these cards. They play other side. They play against themselves. Louisiana hates Louis. They're anarchists. They hate Louis, and it's mostly probably has to do with they were brainwashed by my slave masters, who have figured ways to take my muscle, my body of muscle, and turn it against me in order to rebrand. So they've taken my entire bank of assets, body of muscle, rebranded it, and turned it against me. That's been what's been going on. That's why all this time, and they had to wait till if I could have done this like in the mid '90s, and later after the mid '90s, actually after grunge, I started getting into. I was doing studying culture and society. I did my gonzo sort of journalism. I was writing books. I was managing bands and things like that. And I had the idea to turn Louisiana into the next sort of Seattle sound. And I wanted to produce 4 or 5 major rock bands. And my idea was a funky rock, heavy funk. It's Led Zeppelin, basically. Led Zeppelin's a funky, heavy jazz, blues, rock band. But with more modern, because Louisiana, New Orleans has the tradition of, from all the way back to Louis Armstrong and Jelly Roll Morton, and way back, lots of different talents from there. So add the jazz influence to it. I was managing bands. I tried to form a festival, but nobody ever helps me. What they try to do is they watch me and say, ha ha, we can do it better than you, and we're just going to lock you out of it. That's kind of what Bonnaroo turned out to be, man in Manchester, Tennessee. And even Ben and Jerry's, where I used to work, just released a Bonnaroo lineup flavor called Coffee Caramel Buzz or something. The Bonnaroo lineup flavor. But these people are so fucking crazy. They're so psychotic anarchists. I mean, they really are. But it's just stupid. I mean, everybody's got to look at it and say, you got to. I mean, it's they're just like extreme dope addicts. You know, they just can't, and they're addicted to blood transfusion, basically. It's like, better than Israel. We're going to be better than you. And they want to make as many people as they can lie. That's what the name of the game has been. Make as many people's lives better than me. It's a beauty shop, and sort of, but it's stupid. You know, I mean, it's just bad business. But it's like, that's why I'm. First of all, they put me in really luxury areas, but I'm not able to enjoy it. I skied a lot, but it was like going to the gym. You know, it was my exercise because I got a free ski pass. So I skied every day like exercise. That's all I did. I went and did mogul runs to work on my legs, and work. It was exercise. I skied a lot because, and I had no friends or anything. I had no money or anything else to really do. Yeah, Ben and Jerry's, I had money. I didn't have friends, and it was a strange situation. I had trouble adjusting. Yeah, I admit it. I'm not that great at going out. I'm not, because I've got a lot going on. I've always been this analytical, introspective sort of person. So let's see. Anything else that I can't live without? The system out of whack ideology gone wild. Definitely, this gone wild mentality. The system is because what they've done, the gone wild part being utilizing the St. Louis Bank assets in America, strictly in America, and the way they're going to, and what they're trying to do is they're using brands and to expand businesses that can control sectors. They're just putting vacuums to vacuum cash up. Long term, everyone is going to hate the United States even worse than they already do. And there's a real possibility that there's going to be a boycott. I mean, there's a very real possibility, but they don't care. They're going to land grab as much as they can. It's bad business. But you don't see it's imperial. It's corporate imperialism, and but it's bad business, to be honest with you. I mean, it's these ultra competitive. They're just gutting it. It's like they're the slaughterhouse. I honestly think it goes back to the Caldwells whose slavery turned into the Hormel slaughterhouse. And what they've done is, rather than harvest the United States livestock, which they keep growing bigger and bigger and bigger, rather than paying their bills, they're attacking globally. So now they decided they wanted to eat Italy, Spain, and France, and Greece. Rather than harvest the United States, sacred livestock, and pay their bills, they just keep growing big. It's like they keep growing and growing, and it's getting rotten. The crops have gotten rotten. But yeah, they just keep growing bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and taller and fatter. But there's really no accountability balance. The only answer is expanding overseas. I mean, it is a changing economy based on technology, and they're trying to get a head start because Asia, I think, is going to jump into the market, but not allowing me to advance Louisiana. That's why Louisiana looks really, really bad. Because Louisiana should be compared to Texas and not to Mississippi. Louisiana should have grown as big as Texas, but it never developed in the way it should. But Texas should have been more of a domesticated because the longhorn is their symbol, and Louisiana because of the parishes, and it should have grown more globally. But Louisiana got stuck because, first of all, we got hijacked by the Texas mob. It goes back probably mostly to energy. But so Louisiana never developed trade. See, Europe needed to grow trade-wise. Rather than sprawl expansion, Europe needed to grow trade with Latin America through Louisiana. That would have made people, but the United States did not want that. They don't like the bulls and the bears. They wanted some stuff. They wanted to stuffed teddy bear is Family Guy is Louisiana. That's it's not a real bear. There's no balance there at all, and so there's no strategic planning or anything like that. So what I was trying to Louisiana should be, rather than having some movie studios and films and a big party scene going on down there, is their amputated foot anesthetic. They've got the they should have really developed some strong international businesses and corporations there. The only corporation, one of the only corporations they had, got bought, and they can't do anything about it because they never got big enough to defend themselves. They have no leverage, and they refuse to admit that I exist. They don't believe at all. They're like, they do not believe in St. Louis, or that they can't. All of the evidence, they don't care at all. I mean, and there is a that, like I said, I think we were made, and we were a bank office, and they ended up turning us into key makers. We made charge cards. I think that's all we do. I think it ties into 1984 New Orleans World's Fair, where there was. I honestly think what they're doing is it's these permanent marks. That they hate me so bad. Parts of the mob, dude. It's guilt. So it's like this arsenal of permanent marks. That's how they inflict it upon me. What they do with me is they take the worst things that happened throughout my life as an arsenal, a precedence, a code hat, and then inflict it upon me as a program, as revenge for having any sort of history or past, because I am unable, because their history is self-sustainable. We were never able to grow up, and we were hijacked. We were never able to grow up. We were kidnapped and kept small. So they use these permanent marks, but it goes back to 1984 was also the year American Express came out with the controversial, or the ultra-exclusive platinum card. Platinum is heavily involved in catalytic. I think it's a money converter, and that's what I'm used as. I think it ties into the genetic modified, but it's just it's an element. It's a gene splicing element to make these charge cards that are a little part of my bank, but the bank is run by hijackers and terrorists who will not, and they're trying to say it's business, or they're trying to say distressed property. But first of all, we were mismanaged. We were, we were sabotaged from the very beginning. Never knew we had to. I mean, my family still does not, will not even. I mean, when you look at all the evidence, and it is substantial, there is a ton. If we put this all together in a book, that's why I need this art team. Or this is what SCAD should have done. I should have gotten 3 or 4 students and compiled all this, and I could have put together a website that was properly done, published, and at least published. I could have easily. I just can't get in touch with the right people. It's like breaking down a brick wall to try to get anything done in entertainment, to try to sell anything. And I've tried all sorts of angles to get through. I sent 10,000 emails, got nothing. I sent tons of things. I was trying to break the story to media. That's honestly because I have it's all conceptual. I have no tangible proof. It's all charts. It's all gravitational fields. So if I was trying to break a part of the story in the media, I was unable to. They buried the story for a long time. 10,000 emails to the media, nothing. So it was trying to become. I know fame is almighty importance these days, and so I was trying to use that as tangibility, then sell parts of it. If I break through the glass, the ceiling, or through the door, then it opens up all these other projects, and I could probably make a ton of money real fast. Not real. Yeah, I've got a lot of there's a lot of different ideas that I could, but I'm not allowed to. So it's always instead it's these various factions, and they'll jump behind anything. They're shadow, it's shadow groups of the military, which is really black marketing. It's black market, like Buffalo Soldiers or Joaquin Phoenix. It's really, they're just, it's all these shadow games. They've even got a shadow game with Jack Ryan movie with Kevin Costner, who was part of the pyramid scheme in the Delta Chi genetic modified when Ashton Kutcher, dude, where's my car? It's trying to justify. They're trying to take credibility away from the victim and transfer it into those with the wallets. And I'm not allowed to use my wallets because I'm not. It really is. It's like taking a bank officer, kidnapping him, and locking him out of his bank, and then looting and pillaging and stuff, transferring all the assets out to their buddies, and then burning down the building, and then trying to say it never existed. Basically, what's going on. It's a bank robbery there, and assets are used in any number of ways, and they're trying to just waste any part of my life that they can. So I'm sabotaged to alienate from options, to be kidnapped, and then to justify it. Oh, the called shots. It's all up. See, anything that I did in the past, if I rubbed anyone raw in any way, in mob, I say are these faction groups. There's a lot of mob factions. It's a group, whatever you want to call them, mobs or herds or whatever. They're groups, factions. Um, but they use me for credibility. So if anything that is, and I was sabotaged my entire life. I was taught the wrong thing. I was raised to be lower middle or middle because they wanted to use my wallet, it seems. I was lucky I dug my way out through study, and it was mostly me. I think they never thought. I was asleep for 20 few years of my life. Brain dead. I mean, I had trouble, I was blatantly obvious ADHD. And so I was asleep. And then when I took the regimen of Adderall or Dexedrine from the doctor, I woke up. I was starting to study and see things differently. But I had to rethink. It really messed me up for a while. And they realized this, and they pounced, and they knocked me for a loop. I was vulnerable, and I got whacked because I think I was completely changing the way I thought from the way I was mismanaged for so many years. I was going to be raised to be an obsolete dinosaur, to be used in gene splicing, Jurassic Park sort of thing. That's why they're filming the Jurassic World. It was an expansion of these gene splicing, Dr. Moreau, H.G. Wells. Um, I just said, what? They're just burying a high-value global body. It's just high-ranking genes. That's where they built me up all the way back to be high-ranking. I radiate, I'm glow, that sort of thing. Then they just splice it in and dilute it throughout these networks. Call it energy if you will, but they don't pay any. They pay the bootlegger. It's a bootlegger. So if they would have been, if it would have, I would have a plantation if I was if it was a big estate or something like that. If they were producing bourbon or any sort of thing, but they don't want to pay anything. They want free. It's slavery. 12 years of slave is an understatement. We've been slaves for generations, literally. My entire life I have been a slave, even though I don't seem like it, but I have been a slave. Because we're talking about millions and billions of dollars, and I'm forced to live on less than the most I ever made was like $25,000 a year. That I had to go out and work hard for $25,000 a year when we're giving away millions and billions because we are horrifically mismanaged. So they wanted to call a shot. I was a wild child in the day. No, I always kind of got on the fringes. I was always on the fringes. I was the voice of reason a lot of times. When I was in my partying phase, we used to go to the raves, or we used to go to the festivals. My friends used to do a lot. Get really wild and crazy, take a lot of different things, and I never did. I was always, I was very careful and calculated and that sort of thing. But they wanted to turn it's. I'm not allowed because I'm not allowed to be strong. They have to. The called shot was I was going to be a real bad egg, the worst. And so that I honestly think they were trying to. That's why I was so poor for so long, on the verge of death. Just that's why they brought this suicide into play, was to make me desperate. If I'm desperate, I might go out and do some desperate act. They were trying to make me. The best case scenario is to turn me into some sort of criminal and put me in jail for life. That is the best case scenario for the kidnapper. So they were trying to somehow catch me because I never did anything that bad. And they kept giving me, it was this Marlin confirmation gift mentality that they turned me into, which is insane in itself. Once again, really demented, stupid judgment based on this genetic alteration. So they were trying to make me bad or real weak to try to encourage me to do bad things, because then that's also a great beauty shot for the people that screwed me. Then I have to turn the other cheek or forgive or save, or the sin industry is where it is. Jesus saves you for your sins. They've got a whole sin industry. What I should have been was a bridge. They never built a bridge. They play the party system. They can't see. The rich are unable to rise above the party at all. There's not a group of them. They're stuck playing the party system. Whereas I don't really care about party politics, to be honest with you. I'm more of the economic accounting of a mind. So they will not allow. They won't build a bridge. I should have been a bridge, but they did not allow me. They didn't allow me to be a bridge. It was. They burned it down. Now they just jump ramps. They got daredevil ramps. So, but what really screwed up was who should have been my strength and muscle should have been the deviant. The club, the Suicide Girls, or the rock and rollers, or any of those. The celebrities, the musicians, the artists should be my strength and muscle, but they got turned against me. That's kind of what SCAD's doing right now. That's why they brought my sister into SCAD. They were trying to turn that against me. Then they were trying to turn the jocks into me, because that should have been my muscle also. So anything that was my muscle, they're turning against me. Austin in Texas should be my muscle, but they turned it against me because I'm a slave, 12 years a slave. That's where the joke about Linklater's from Austin. He did those movies about Ethan Hawke and Julie Delpy in Paris, meeting in Paris, and the conversation, building a bridge, but they did not. They burned the bridge. They kept burning the bridge. They will not allow me to escape. They keep me on the island, and I've given you plenty of motives. And so rather than, like, South by Southwest should be my strength. There's a Formula One race, should be my muscle, but the joke is now I can't get them. Instead, they desecrate me for any weakness of the system, because they are greedy, and we're talking about the greediest and fattest people in the world here that use so much of the world's resources. That's not enough. They want to be pretty, which is crazy. So they use me as their beauty shop, or to desecrate for pride, because they can't be reliant. They've always got to be better than me, because they're too proud, because it's like the blood donor. So what should be my muscle is turned against me. And I think it's based upon loan sharks, because I'm still a slave, unable to escape in any capacity. So I've got to wait until I have been deluded, or I missed opportunity. Not to mention, now that everything is online, everything is connected, it makes things so much more difficult. So they're going to try to. It's like they're going to try to give me the worst of it they can possibly give me. All based upon this illegal pyramid scheme, genetic modified organism that should be, yeah, I mean, so, but because they wasted my entire life, then it validates the pyramid scheme in itself again. Bizarre, in my estimation. Just doesn't make any sense. So let me scan over all these pages, see if I'm missing anything. I might wasted. Oh yeah, Mean Girls. So yeah, it really is crazy. What they've done is they've turned women against me, who should be my strength also. They figured a way to turn them against me to make them proud. That's where you get into the Mean Girl plastics. Because they, so what they've done is they've turned girls, for the most part, they've alienated me, first of all. They figured out, but they kept me in contained bubbles. But it really is. It's been pimps and pimp wranglers is all it is. They're pimp wranglers for the most part. And especially, I'm not allowed, but that's another reason I'm not allowed to, what should be my strength are like the thoroughbreds. Churchill Downs, Kentucky Bluegrass, the Blue Bloods should be my muscle. But that's part of my wallet that has been stolen. Another reason I'm not allowed to affiliate with that group. I am alienated from social. I should be part, and there's even the New Orleans Advocate. Their entertainment section is called Beaucoup. So if there's a coup going on and I'm ostracized, if I'm not invited, there's a coup going on. That's that's the general. So if I'm being locked out and alienated, there's something fishy going on. There's somebody picking my pocket. So what they're doing is they're trying. It's these pimp wranglers. They really are. It goes back to bleeding the pride, blood doping. They're taking my blood and then distributing the pride more to individualism. But they needed, I mean, honestly, when history looks back, they really needed me to be stronger because the political legal system it's gotten to be wicked, terrible. I mean, it's going to be horrifically hard to do it. I mean, it's destroying the world, but they're still intent on it's bizarre, stupid logic. So Georgia decides they're going to try to play my sister and my brother's family, my brother-in-law's family on the society side, but they never developed either. They still stayed relatively small. If they would have grown big, we need to grow. That's the whole part about the Louis Trey's Genius Award with the Paris-America relationship. They need me to build a bridge or somebody to build a real bridge. They're trying to build a bridge. That's part of the American psycho. That's why parts of them hate me also because the North is more involved with Notre Dame individual wealth. But I don't necessarily know if they could or if I don't know. I don't understand. And it doesn't make any sense. That's why the political systems are playing Kennedys so hard. They really are. They're dead. That's why Carolyn Kennedy's head of Japan. They have to play the Kennedys. They're playing that against us. They're also playing Ireland against France, and Ireland against Italy, and that sort of. They're playing all these angles, these division angles, rather than because they will not let me. I need to build either me or somebody in my immediate family, regional or area needs to build a bridge to Europe to connect, to form, but they do not. They keep destroying. They will not allow it to happen. I don't know. They do not want me to grow up. So they're playing they're still playing the local country club card, even though they are old country clubs, old families, but still they have not developed beyond. They couldn't sustain a big attack. They would get massacred by. They can't control corporations. First of all, they can't. You have to be big enough to control some of these corporations because the corporations are so big, and you've got to be able to be globally legitimate. But there's certain factions that don't want blood to be globally legitimate. So it gets into there's all sorts of theoretical bridge burners going on there. So, see if there's anything wasted. Seems to be wasted life. I mean, and we're talking really valuable wasted. Trillions of dollars wasted. Literally. Louisiana's going to be the big loser in it, but they're anesthetized. And most of this I talked about. It's repetitive, I know, but hey, what else can I do? You know, this is all I've got. I mean, I've really lost my ability to produce work competently. I get dissatisfied with myself. I have no sound check. You know, Wynton Marsalis online was talking about sound check. I can't even talk to anybody to give myself a sound check to bounce any. It's hollow, echo. I don't have a soundboard. I don't have, somebody to bounce ideas off, a competent mind to talk about, to discuss it. I've got to do it all on my own, which is insane, crazy, stupid, insane. And it's worthless. I'm forced, and then I'm not allowed. They keep handicapping me small. They keep me kidnapped. They treat me either JV or Omega or illegal or whatever, or they want to handicap me. So I'm forced to be around people that do not have the mental capacity. And when I start talking, this is what happened at most every job I had. This the problem was, and then they decided, well, you're there. Then they wanted to try to prove that me being smart was stupid because I can't sustain normal life because I'm not allowed to grow big beyond entry level. Smith Clerk revenge, So I'm surrounded by people who do not have the mental capacity. So SCAD could have been good because at least there were artists. Artists have creative minds, but I never meet anybody I can, It takes a while to really get into a lot of depth when you really get into philosophy, to get into personality or anything like that, or any of these people. So, or anybody that's probably SCAD faculty would be the best. But I met a few of them, had taught me things like that, but for the most part, or any, I really should be around famous artists, to be honest with you. That or philosophers, intellectuals of any type, but mostly I was just trying to produce work because I needed some people to help me get my stuff together. I've lost control. I don't know where to go with it. I've got enough material I've got probably 5,000 to 10,000 pages. I don't have an exact, and it could be eventually turned into a lot of different things. It could be a 4 or 5 big volumes of books. I would like to produce it myself. But yeah, I should have been going to these SCAD cocktail parties. That's the joke. My sister actually plans parties for SCAD. That's going to be the historical stupidity joke for some odd reason because I don't have the monetary credibility or I don't have any realistic, rational success. Mine is all theoretical conceptual. And so, so I should have been, I'm unable to bounce these ideas off of people. In Aspen, I should have gone to the Ideas Fest and talked to those sorts of, or the Aspen Institute. My daily routine was walk to the Aspen, or I walked around. I knew where I should have been, but I don't have that. I can't take that. I'm stuck in this entry-level stunted growth scenario where I can't develop the next step. Bizarre. So, let's see. Yeah. So I should. It's just. It's so much wasted. I really could have produced. I could have developed bands. Louisiana. Well, when I was talking about earlier the Renaissance idea, Louisiana. They would have helped me launch in the late 1990s. It would have been right before Prince 1999, and it could have been a global powerhouse. Then Hollywood, but instead they really didn't. They've got galactic. They've got it's got a lot going on there in the upper mid level, but it's there could have been a massive renaissance, rebirth, which would have been it would have said it was one of the biggest strategic flaws in history. You know, really, really could have been it could have been just a huge, but instead they couldn't see beyond. You know, there's no judgment. They can't. There's no. They want to live in the clouds, but they don't want the cloud to judge like they're living in the clouds. They want to live in the clouds, but they have ground beef judgment. That sort of mentality, because they're unable to think beyond this pyramid scheme, which they keep me plugged into. Just need to bite the bullet and get me out of it, and protects me from it, and then take rework that, use that pyramid scheme, turn that into the raw material, rather than turning the source into the raw material, turn the pyramid scheme into the raw material and build off of that. But they never built. So yeah, the Renaissance that I had planned, I wanted to start a Louisiana music movement in the late 1990s, produce 4 or 5 big bands, start moving. I was talking about movie production back then. I met with a guy. I mean, there were so many. There were good ideas. There was a guy I remember meeting with. I was trying to start businesses. I had no money. I had no help from the friends that had hacked, that had poisoned me. No help at all. Just nothing. They did not have the mental capacity to see the future, and they couldn't. They're going to pay the price. They're sitting. They're looking at it right now. If they would have helped me, they would have been prepared. They didn't prepare at all. They did nothing but they played the games that they did. They got gambling, and they got some movies, so they get to see. It looks like the crawdad solidarity paid off, but they missed out on trillions of dollars. They really did, and they just played parts against each other. And my family really paid the price. My aunts are still, working for the state, which is insane, terribly stupid misappropriation of power and usage. Rather than and so nothing to do. But yeah, this Renaissance, Louisiana could have helped elevate the South, which is what SCAD's trying to do right now. Is what I was trying to do in the late 1990s. And Louisiana had the pieces and the parts, and we could have. I had no help. I had zero confidence. I was surrounded by a bunch of JV high schoolers, that sort of thing. They're handicapping me really hurt. It's going to hurt them bad. Really, really hurt them bad. And the same thing here. These people in the South really need to do something. Resting on their laurels is insanely stupid. Right? They're going to pray to their political gods, and they think that they're going to do something. There's going to be a big change. But there's not going to be a big change. They're just going to keep dragging their feet, and it's going to get worse and worse and worse, in my estimation. So, I am trying to do something. Unable to. No confident help. I am going to try to. I'll figure something out. I don't know. Keep writing. Wasting my life.